Thank you. Hi, everyone. The second presentation for today is The Bridge Back to the Future, Archives, AI, and the Humans in the Loop. It'll be presented by Dr. Andrew White. He has 35 plus years experience in academic libraries, including public and technical services, as well as information system administration. Prior to his role at Rensselaer, he held a variety of positions at Stony Brook University, including Associate Director of Health Sciences Library, Director of Health Sciences Library, and Interim Director of Libraries and the Dean of Library Services. From 2013 until 2016, Andrew was the Associate Chief Information Officer and Senior Director for Research Computing, holding a faculty position in the Department of Biomedical Informatics, working with teams on various healthcare data analytic projects. Andrew holds graduate degrees in library science from Queens College and music history from Stony Brook University and the City University of New York, and was a 2012 UCLA Senior Fellow. He has contributed articles to the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences, Computers in Libraries, LCATS, and the Electronic Library. We welcome Andrew. Andrew, please take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Anu. And it's always nice to follow a fellow Stony Brooker. Thanks, Karim, for your presentation. So for those of you who are Monty Python fans, and now for something completely different. Unlike the other presentations that have been presented as part of this conference, I'm going to do something that's a little bit different. It's got a little bit of history in it, a bit of technology, because this is an AI conference. So let's make sure that this is working the way I want it to. So here's the question. So how do you honor a person who is passed and still have them give an acceptance speech at an event? And the way we did this with a mixture of primary archival sources, some help from the entertainment industry, a little bit of AI, and a lot of critical research and analysis. But first, I'd like to sell you a bridge. I'd like to tell you about a bridge.
Distinguished guests have declared the New York and Brooklyn Bridge open. We can take the time to acknowledge some of the great New Yorkers who worked behind the scenes to create New York's latest miracle, including our trustees, most of whom are here tonight. Mr. Russell, may I invite you to speak?
I am glad to be here and to salute all of you. But my son, Larry, will speak for me. Mr. President, gentlemen, ladies, my father asked me to oversee our interest in the Brooklyn Bridge project, which I was happy to do. Like most of you, I too was in awe of the grandeur that was once a dream and has now become a reality. I know I speak for us all when I thank you, Mr. Roebling, for your vision. But what most of you do not know is that after an early injury, while Mr. Roebling was out of action, his wife, Mrs. Roebling, a brilliant engineer in her own right, is the one who enabled construction of the bridge to continue in her husband's absence. Yes, that's right. Mrs. Roebling took over the creation and finished it. I would like us all to raise a glass to Emily Roebling to thank her for her enormous contribution to the creation of the Brooklyn Bridge, a new wonder of the world. Hear, hear.
So that was a clip from The Gilded Age, for those of you who follow Downton Abbey and the sequence of the series follow-on series that was created by Home Box Office. That series, much of it was shot in downtown, on location in downtown Troy, the home city of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. But what's the relevance here? Well, the relevance is that Washington Augustus Roebling was the class of 1857 here at RPI. His brother was the class of 1871, and his son, John A. Roebling II, was also an RPI alum. Washington Roebling's father, John Augustus Roebling, was a famous bridge builder. In fact, he is the original designer of the Brooklyn Bridge, and RPI is fortunate enough to have the best and most complete collection on the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. In fact, it is what we consider to be one of the two crown jewels in our archival collections. So the quick backstory here is that John Roebling, who was a famous bridge builder in the United States, he built bridges across the Niagara. The bridge that he built that still stands is the Cincinnati Covington Bridge, which actually, if you take a close look at it, looks like a miniature version of the Brooklyn Bridge. There's obviously a clear RPI connection with the number of Roeblings that graduated from RPI. What's presented in that clip from the Gilded Age is actually true. Emily Roebling did, in fact, help with the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. So John Roebling, the father, was the original designer. John Roebling, in a accident on a pier, he had a foot that was crushed. He did not believe in the medicine of the time and unfortunately contracted tetanus, subsequently lockjaw, and subsequently died, leaving his son Washington to be the chief engineer of the Brooklyn Bridge. Washington subsequently, during the bridge construction, suffered from what we call the bends. And the bends, for those of you who do diving, it's when you get an air compression sickness. You basically get bubbles in your bloodstream. And that's associated with the construction of the bridge. They used a technology called the caisson. So Washington Roebling could not be on site for much of the construction of the bridge and sent instructions of bridge construction via his wife, Emily. And Emily was often the person on site working with the engineers as they were going through the construction of the bridge. So the collection, as I mentioned, we have the largest and most complete collection of the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. In fact, the items that you see here, David McCullough's The Great Bridge Book, Ken Burns' very first movie documentary which was on the Brooklyn Bridge. That research was done, the bulk of that research was done here at RPI. Erica Wagner is actually the first individual to actually write a complete biography of Washington Roebling. And again, the bulk of her research, which was over a period of 5 years, the bulk of that research was done here at RPI. So you get a sense of what the contents are. We have correspondence between Washington and his dad. We have correspondence between Washington and the other engineers. In fact, there were a number of other RPI other RPI graduates who worked on the bridge, actually on site. We have technical notes and drawings. We have notebooks. We have accounts. We have the patents for what was called the wire rope at the time, basically the cable that's used to build a bridge. And we have lots of other documentation, many of them hand-drawn. Some of these contents you'll see throughout the course of this presentation. So what was what's her importance? As I said, Emily Roebling, in fact, was the person that did most of the instruction during the construction of the bridge. She was kind of the overseer, the project manager. There's very little about what she actually did as part of that construction of the bridge. But we have many secondary sources that confirm that she, in fact, was the person on site. And she was often there in conversations with many of the engineers, construction workers. So here's the idea. As part of RPI's bicentennial celebration, the president decided that he wanted to provide, award an honorary degree to Emily Roebling. We called this internally, this was a very secretive kind of project. We called it Project Bridge, and here was the action plan. So we were going to posthumously award an honorary degree to Emily Roebling. The woman that you saw portraying Emily Roebling in that clip from The Gilded Age, we were going to hire her. She's already been an actress playing Emily Roebling in a series. So we're going to hire her to be Emily Roebling in person here. Then the question is, we need to craft a commencement speech. And while we're doing this project, we also have a way to highlight the drawbacks of what AI, what's the pros and cons and what limitations exist within AI technology. So we need to provide the LLMs. We use ChatGPT 4 at the time to give it data about Emily Roebling and to give us an output. So the problem is there's a lot of general knowledge about Emily Roebling, but how do we get the AI to reference specific facts that she would have known, but it's not part of the general knowledge? We want this to be a speech in Emily Roebling's voice. And what's the appropriate language? What language would she have used at the time? So we want it to be historically accurate language. So the second issue that we face is that there's a lack of content. There's a general lack of content about Emily Roebling, but there certainly is a huge chasm when it comes to digitized content about Emily Roebling. We already know that AI suffers from hallucinations, so with little content, the AI might try to make stuff up, basically. So within RPI's collection about the Brooklyn Bridge and about the Roebling family, there's very little that we have that are actually Emily Roebling's writings. And we certainly don't have a lot of it that's digitized. So we were able to spot a report in her actual hand. It was a report from the chief engineer, but she signed it and wrote this on behalf of her husband, who was indisposed because he was observing the construction from his bedroom window on the other side of the East River. So this clip is on the left-hand side is our Institute archivist, me sitting in the center as moderator, and on the right-hand side is Erica Wagner, the woman who's written the biography of Washington Roebling. They're going to explain a little bit about why there's such a shortage of information about Emily Roebling.
We're asked so often, I'm looking for anything in Emily Roebling's hand. I don't care what it is, just what do you have? Well, it's very elusive. And also because in this collection, most of what is in her handwriting is his words. Because she took his dictation for years and years and years. So you have her handwriting, but not her words. Right. So this is the closest that we can get to who she is, at least in this collection. But I will say that to the best of our knowledge, nothing exists anywhere. It hasn't been revealed in any university, any Smithsonian. Nothing.
Yeah, private collection.
Right. And so that actually, if I may, there's a striking part in Erica's book, if you don't mind commenting on it. And it just sort of tugged at my heartstrings about Washington burning what correspondence he did have of Emily's.
Washington and Emily met in 1864 at a ball in Washington, D.C. During the war, she was the younger sister of his commanding officer, General G.K. Warren. He fought under Warren at Gettysburg. And Warren cared very much for his younger sister. He paid for her education. She was 13 years younger than he was. They were introduced, and Washington was instantly smitten. There is a little bit of evidence that he had been pretty reticent with women up to that point, but Emily was the woman for him. They would be married in January of 1865, but during the time that they were separated, they wrote to each other constantly. Mostly that was what there was to do during the Civil War if you were not in fear for your life. And only one half of this correspondence survives, his half. Her letters do not exist. And that is because, and he says, and to me actually, this illustrates the difference between men and women, he told her that he destroyed her letters because it caused him too much pain, because they were separated, right, to keep them. It pained him to look at them again. I think that's what men are like, but there we go.
So, with that as the backdrop, so here was the strategy. What available literature did we have that we could get some additional information about Emily Roebling? So we could find some old newspaper articles, any book chapters written about the Roeblings where there's a conversation, you know, there's information about Emily and her role in her life. We could scan and then OCR them and then feed them into the large language models. We could look for other collections and other repositories. And Rutgers, we knew from those that have already done research at RPI what their other collections exist in other areas. So Rutgers University, which is not that far from RPI, just a couple of hours, houses the bulk of available Roebling family correspondence. And that correspondence, though, is not, as you heard, is not correspondence between Emily Roebling and her husband, Washington. It's correspondence between Washington and his son, John Jr., and Emily and her son, John Jr. We could then take photographs of those things that we spotted at Rutgers, transcribe those letters, because those letters are all in natural handwriting. They're not typed. They're not in a digital format. And then we can add that data into the LLM. So our Institute archivists made a trip down to Rutgers and started to go on a mining expedition. So what we see here are a sample of some of those letters that we found, that the Institute archivists found at Rutgers University. And you could see from some of the languages, some of the language and excerpts that we pulled out here, the language is not that of a 21st century individual or even a 20th century individual, right? There's some phrasing, there's some grammar, there's some things in there that clearly indicate this is from a earlier time period. So now we're up to how do we train the AI and what kind of engineering, prompt engineering do we develop in order to get the kind of information that we're looking for? So we take all this information that we've harvested that doesn't exist in the AI. We feed it into the AI. In some cases, the actual transcription, the transcription process, in some cases, we actually read the letters and then used speech to text as a way to feed the LLM. We want to give it examples of what Emily's writing style was. For example, you would have not mankind, she would have said humankind. We want to feed it some sets of specific facts to give it some context to the information that is in the prompt. And then we're going to do some significant review, critical analysis, and try to use our own human judgment and knowledge of historical context in order to, finalize the results. So the fine tuning aspect of it here, as you can see from the little snippet, this is not the snippet that's on the right-hand side here. It's not from our prompting. I'll show you a little of that. But we want to, you could do some fine tuning of the LLM, which is kind of difficult for us to do. You need a lot of training data, and you need to give it enough information so that its next word prediction patterns will be more accurate. It's very hard to do that because the LLMs require a large, very large data set. And again, we're not working with a very large data set. The prompt engineering is a better strategy for us to take in this particular case. We're trying to build a prompt and give it some specific instructions in that. And we're going to do multiple types of prompts. This is a very iterative process for us to get what we're after. So as an example here, this was an attempt at our first prompt, and we said it's 2024, we're celebrating our bicentennial, we're giving Emily Roebling an honorary degree, pretend that you're Emily, and write a commencement speech. So you see what we have here as an example. What it comes up with is, I stand here today moved by the accolades you have chosen to confer upon me. This is not very fluid. It's definitely not the language, even though Emily Roebling is from, the 19th century. This is not the language that she would have used. So the PhD student that was working with us, who now subsequently works for IBM in artificial intelligence, and the researcher who we have here on campus, who's an expert in artificial intelligence and semantic web and ontologies, etc., working with us, we came up with a more than 2-page or approximately a 2-page prompt to get some kind of result set that is now something that's viable out of the LLM. So you can see here at the on the output side, where it says, "Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, firstly, I'm deeply humbled to be the recipient of this degree." Okay, that seems a little bit more plausible than what we had as a first attempt. We actually ran through 6 different versions of the prompt and 6 different result sets. And you can see here in a couple of places where we've highlighted where, and now here I stand. Well, we've actually added that into the results. So we've done some editing here. The same thing, the Roebling's name is intrinsically connected to the bridge, right? And you can see here, each color code indicates what version of results we actually extracted from to kind of cobble this all together. So in a sense, it's an amalgam of multiple attempts at having the AI write the script or write the speech, and multiple revisions done by humans to actually put this all together. And now the final results of all that.
Now I have the great pleasure of reading commencement remarks in Emily's voice, captured with the assistance of archival materials, the artificial intelligence tool ChatGPT-4, and a bit of human editing. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty, and graduates of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, as I stand before you on this momentous occasion, I am overcome with a mixture of pride and humility. To be recognized here today is an honor that I could scarcely have imagined in my youth. The Roebling legacy, deeply connected to this esteemed institution through my beloved husband, Colonel Washington Augustus Roebling, his brother Charles, and my son, John Augustus Roebling II, is a testament to the indomitable spirit of innovation and the steadfast pursuit of excellence that RPI embodies. And now, here I stand on the eve of the bicentennial celebration alongside the bright minds that form the graduating class of 2024. The Roebling name is intrinsically connected to the Brooklyn Bridge, the longest suspension bridge ever built in its time. And in the shadow of that great bridge is a monument to human ingenuity and resolve, an engineering feat, a testament to the resilience of human spirit, the pursuit of knowledge, and the unyielding belief in progress.
Okay, so we have a success. We were able to put together a commencement speech. But there's another aspect to what we do here at RPI associated with graduation activities. We hold what's called a colloquy. And the colloquy is where we have those who are receiving honorary degrees have kind of a talk. Tell us about yourself. This particular year, we have Emily Roebling posthumously receiving an award, and we have another alum who is actually the captain of the next Artemis space mission. So the question then becomes, how do you have an interview between two individuals, one that's past and one that's present? So here's what we did. We asked the community, the RPI community, to crowdsource a pool of possible interview questions in advance. We then collect those questions that we would like to use as part of the interview process for both individuals. And then for Emily's answers, we go back to the AI with the data set that we've provided it. And once again, we tweak it, the results from the AI, with a little bit of human knowledge. And the results we get for that are this.
Emily, I know that you and your husband, Washington, were inducted into the RPI Alumni Hall of Fame in 1998. Can you tell us a little bit about Washington's experience at RPI?
Washington vividly recounted his time at RPI. He said it was fraught with toil and hardship, a test of endurance and mental fortitude. He was young and alone, and in my estimation, RPI prepared him for the rigors that would await him. He reflected on his time here. He would speak to a period of intense personal growth, and I think this explains why his father, John Roebling, an eminent engineer whose reputation preceded him, he insisted that Washington attend RPI.
So then what would be the interaction between these two people, past and present?
Well, Emily, you pushed some boundaries in your time. Is it true that you were the first person to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge at the formal opening ahead of the United States President Chester A. Arthur? Is that actually true?
Yes. When it opened on May 24th, 1883, I had the honor of being the first person to traverse the great expanse of the Brooklyn Bridge. And then I should precede even the president in this regard is a curiosity of history.
Really?
Yes, I think so.
Wow. You've accomplished so many.
Wait, are you going to tell more about that or not? Because I see all these guys sitting back there. You going first? No, I'm not going first. You going first? No, I'm not going first. And I can see Emily just going whoop right across the bridge.
I may have insisted. There was something I learned from my father-in-law, John, to insist.
Yes. Well,
So 2 points on those last two video clips. So the reference to Washington Roebling's experience here at RPI, that's actually taken from books, his class notebooks. We have those here at RPI. It's kind of interesting to see the kind of doodles that he put in his class notebooks, but he really did not like being here at RPI, but didn't seem to matter because he ended up sending his son here anyway for the same toil and hardship for his education. And the other point about Emily being the first one to cross the bridge, she actually carried a rooster with her. I'm not quite sure what the significance was, but those are all factual pieces of information that we know but because of the material that we actually have here. So I just wanted to close to acknowledge I'm the one presenting this, but in fact, all the hard work is done by the 3 individuals that you see in this picture. So on the left-hand side is our Institute archivist, Jennifer Monger. In the middle is Sola Shira. Sola has since graduated with a doctorate in computer science from RPI, and as I mentioned earlier, has gone on to become a researcher and employee of IBM over in the Far East. And our expert here in AI research and our director for the cognitive science department here at RPI is Dr. James Henry.